Released in 2006 to mark the 15th anniversary of the Sonic franchise, Sonic 06 is widely regarded as one of the worst games in the entire series. The game was plagued with technical issues, poor design choices, and a rushed development cycle that left players frustrated, me being one of them. Despite a promising concept, the final product failed in almost every aspect, from storytelling to gameplay mechanics. One of the biggest issues with Sonic 06 was its rushed development. The game was released before it was properly finished to make the holiday deadline, leading to frequent glitches, game crashes, and excessive loading times. Players often experienced abrupt stops in movement, slippery controls, and unpredictable physics. These technical flaws made even basic gameplay frustrating, turning what should have been a smooth and fast-paced experience into a broken mess. The game's graphics also suffered due to the rushed production. The cinematic cutscenes were well rendered, but the in-game models and environments looked unfinished and far too spacious, creating a stark contrast. It goes from Final Fantasy to Garry's Mod, which was visually jarring. The controls in Sonic 06 were another major issue. Characters often stopped abruptly for no reason, making movement feel unnatural, which resulted in moments where characters like Shadow would fall upside down and die from a looped bridge instead of simply rolling back, ruining any smooth gameplay and making platforming unnecessarily difficult. Camera angles also contributed to the frustration. The game's camera moved too fast and felt slippery, and often placed itself in awkward positions, making it difficult to judge jumps or avoid obstacles, like the Kingdom Valley level, which was one of, if not the most difficult levels in the whole game, due to Sonic moving way too fast and having to jump left to right without falling, whilst the camera shakes vigorously. The camera just flings him forward like he was put in a slingshot. This led to unfair deaths and unnecessary difficulty spikes. The lack of sufficient checkpoints further added to the problem, forcing players to redo long sections of levels if they failed. Side missions were another weak point. Many of their missions were pointless and boring, lacking the excitement or rewards that should have made them worth completing. Instead of enhancing the main story, they felt like filler content that dragged out an already frustrating experience, like jumping through rings or killing weak robots for a measly reward. Silver the Hedgehog, introduced as a new playable character, had potential but was poorly executed. His telekinesis mechanics were clunky, often failing to work properly, which made his levels feel like an annoying experience and less of an enjoyable one. Boss fights, such as the infamous It's No Use battle against Silver.
It's no use! Take this! It's no use! Take this! It's no use! Take this!
Featured attack loops that made the fights feel cheap and unfair. The whole Iblis trigger thing was just annoying and cringe in general. I'm sorry. While Sonic games are not typically known for deep storytelling, Sonic 06 attempted to take a more serious approach and failed miserably. The plot was convoluted, focusing too much on Silver instead of Sonic, which made Sonic feel like an afterthought in his own game. It's like they spent all their time making an in-depth storyline for Shadow and more specifically Silver, as this was his introduction to the Sonic series, and just told Sonic to save some random useless person, and we're expected to eat it up because, well, he's Sonic. This game lets you choose all three main characters in the storyline to play at any time, which often made the experience feel discombobulated and hard to remember. For instance, if you played Silver's storyline 80% in, you could start Shadow's storyline 1% in, which means that Silver has already met Shadow, but Shadow has not met Silver yet. So the storyline makes no sense in the grand scheme of things, but they'll slap the label time travel over it to make it sound like a cohesive effort when in reality, it was just a major fuck up. Another thing that I really didn't understand about this game was the Sonic and Elise romance. It was just very bizarre. I don't get the whole like save the princess and then fall in love with your hero type of thing if your hero is a literal hedgehog who's like 15 years old. It just didn't make any sense. Like, it's like they invited Diddy into the production meeting, like I don't know wagwan for the producers of that game. I don't know if it's like some sick fetish or something, but I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that development building to see what was going on in their heads when they thought of that, because I really just like they put bestiality into a kid's game and they thought everyone was just gonna be like, yes, like bruh, like no. The fuck, like no. So yeah, to the Sonic team, I just have to say thank you. Thank you for giving the freaky fucks on DeviantArt ammo. Thank you for giving them ammunition. Elise's constant need to be rescued further weakened her character, making her one of the least memorable princesses in gaming history. Also, her parents literally died when she was a kid. You'd think she would have some backbone or grit as a national leader, but apparently not. She just screams and gets captured 100 times. It's a waste of a character. Her overuse in the story combined with her lack of personality made her a weak addition to the game. The voice acting in this game is particularly terrible. Aside from the NPC's repetitive one-word dialogue, where they just say, hey, the voice actors completely missed the mark.
Oh, look at her wig! Her eyebrows, her makeup!
Hi, Big Bird. Hi, Elmo.
Oh, look!
Like, no. Like, it's just not it. There were some good parts of the game like the soundtrack, however the contrast in unserious story and voice acting to the dramatic music makes it feel kind of hilarious. But I did like the collaboration between all the Sonic characters and how they all had a large relevance in the game instead of being just sidekicks. I also liked Mephiles and think it was an interesting addition. I just wish it was executed correctly. To improve Sonic 06, several key changes should have been made, the key change being that the game should have had a structured chapter system instead of allowing players to choose characters freely. So with each chapter you change character and have different objectives, which all makes sense when the characters come together towards the end. This would have balanced the story, ensuring that Sonic remained the central focus rather than being overshadowed by Silver. Second, the game needed much more development time to fix its numerous technical issues. Delaying the release to polish the controls, camera and physics would have made a significant difference in playability. The inconsistent application of gravity should have been addressed, ensuring that characters move naturally and predictably. Third, the story should have been rewritten to remove unnecessary elements like Sonic and Elise's romance. Elise's design and role should have been improved to make her a more engaging and independent character, rather than a repetitive damsel in distress. Finally, side missions should have been more meaningful, offering valuable rewards or additional story content. Checkpoints should have been placed more strategically to prevent unnecessary frustration from dying and restarting large sections of a level. Had the developers taken more time to refine the gameplay, improve the story, and fix the numerous bugs, Sonic 06 could have been a worthy anniversary title. Instead, it remains a game that fans look back at and think of what it could have been. My personal opinion on this game, I'm not gonna lie and say that this game wasn't a staple in my childhood, because it definitely was. It was definitely something that I did enjoy playing when I was a kid, but that's because I didn't really have much cinematic literacy or just like any type of like film or video game literacy. I just enjoyed everything, you know? So it's one of those games, it's actually very addicting because of how bad it is, almost. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. And like I said, I don't like doing outros because I don't want to beg people to be on my shit. So if you want to stay, you can stay, but anyways,